championship. They hold serve at home, and they hold off the Dallas Mavericks in Game 2.
I think my turnovers and my missed free throws cost us a game, so I got to do way better in those two categories. But at the end of the day, we got to make shots to win the game. They handle what they were supposed to do first 2 games, and now it's our job to go home and handle our business.
We just got to take care of the ball. Just too many turnovers, and then we got to score the ball. We got to find someone to join Luka and Kyrie in that scoring category.
105-98. Boston wins Game 2 at home over the Dallas Mavericks. They're up 2-0 in the NBA Finals. Game 3 coming your way Wednesday night, 8:30 p.m. Eastern on ESPN Radio. We have praised the Celtics, rightfully so. The Mavs, on the other hand, have not been very impressive through 2 games here. Luka did have a triple-double last night, 32-11-11, but it's clearly not 100%. They downgraded him to questionable before the game, has a myriad of injuries. Jason Kidd, his comments leading into the game, trying to split Tatum and Brown, saying that Brown is the best player on the team. That didn't work, really, obviously. And then Kyrie Irving makes those ridiculous comments post-game the other night, kind of challenging the Boston fans. The Boston fans are all over him last night every time he touched the ball, which you thought early on, hey, it's kind of working for Kyrie. It's good motivation. 8 points in the first quarter. Problem is he had 8 points the rest of the game. After that, he was not very good. This Mavs team just feels flat right now, guys.
Well, they don't have anybody that can create offense outside of Luka. That's a problem. It's supposed to be Kyrie, but it certainly wasn't. Another abysmal performance. He was 7-18 from the floor in Game 2 after going 6-19 from the floor in Game 1. He's got to be better. I mean, Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving have to lead the charge. Now, Luka did his part with a 30-point triple-double. I mean, the guy was absolutely phenomenal, better than 50% shooting, and you're talking about him being 4-9 from 3. Only problem is the rest of the team from three-point land, 2-17. That's awful. They've got to find a way to get Luka some help, and it's supposed to be Kyrie Irving. And, guys, I thought after Game 1, his comments about the crowd was him trying to put that chip on his shoulder to get him to boo him so he can get going early in Game 2. And in the first quarter, it seemed like it was working, and then things fall apart. And that's exactly what happened for Kyrie Irving. And as he goes, so the Dallas Mavs go. I think Kyrie Irving is going to be the barometer that we have to watch in Game 3. If he has a strong first half, then I look for the Dallas Mavs to try to jump back into this series in a significant way. But if he can't get going early on in Game 3, I think this is going to be a really short series for the Boston Celtics. That's how critical Kyrie Irving is to the Dallas Mavs being able to make this a competitive series.
When he made those comments, I know you said that maybe he would want to put a chip on his shoulder, and every athlete needs to self-motivate however they can.
No doubt.
But we knew that Boston was going to take a hold of that, and we knew that those fans who already had an issue with Kyrie were going to let him have it even more. And then when I saw that they put the quote on the Jumbotron before the game last night, I was like, oh, boy, he is in for it. And to your point, I thought in the very beginning of the game, oh, maybe he's found a way to compartmentalize this and not let this affect him. But that crowd was relentless the entire night. And this is a human being. I don't know how stuff like that can affect you. If you're able to just block out all that noise for the entirety of the game, then, you know, props to you. I don't know if personally I would be able to do that, but I wonder if as the series swings back to Dallas, if we'll see a different version of Kyrie when he's out of that environment.
And thankfully, at least as of now, it was just booing. Like, you boo the heck out of anybody you want. Don't cross a line, which right now we don't have any information that any line was crossed. But he brought that upon himself, and he's not playing great basketball right now.
Yeah, but if somebody does that in the fans, if somebody yells a slur or something like that, security going to get them up out of there.
Let's hope so.
Like the NBA, no, there's no hope. The NBA has done that.
Yeah.
They have shown security is going to get people out of the arena. So I'm not as much worried about that as I am Kyrie Irving actually showing up in this series. Because I'm a fan of great basketball. I'm not a fan of either one of these teams, but I want to see great games, and I wanted a long series. I don't want this thing to be 4 games and we're done. But that's the way that it's trending because Kyrie Irving has yet to show up. And last night, the tandem of Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving combined for 48 points. And Luka had 32 of those. Holiday and White combined for 44 points.
They were great.
And they were more efficient. Better field goal percentage, so on and so forth, fewer turnovers. Jrue Holiday hasn't turned the ball over this series. And he's the second leading scorer for the Boston Celtics. They've been absolutely phenomenal. So if Holiday and White are going to play Luka and Kyrie to a draw, the Mavs have no shot in this series. No shot.
None.
And that's exactly what's playing out right now. And so, Smalls, it's interesting because we're talking about the Kyrie Irving of it all. And I'm wondering if what happened between Kyrie, Jason Tatum, and Jaylen Brown relatively early in their careers has shaped the level of intensity that those guys have approached this series with from a defensive standpoint. Because, I mean, that to me is fascinating to think about. Because Kyrie Irving wasn't a great teammate to those guys early on in their careers, if this is an opportunity for them to get a little bit of retribution. Now, I know that everybody's motivated because it's the NBA Finals. But like you said, athletes always find a way to put that chip on their shoulder. It sure feels like that there is a little something extra in the Boston Celtics tank when it comes to how they're locking down defensively, because we were curious to see how they would play Kyrie and Luka in that high pick and roll versus what we saw from the number one defense in the Western Conference Finals with the Timberwolves, and it's seemingly no problem for the Boston Celtics. I just think that with Kyrie Irving posturing and all of the commentary about the crowd and about Boston, the guys in the green jerseys are taking all of that and they're using it, they're harnessing it, using it to their advantage as that extra little motivation that they need to take control of this series.
Well, it's about time if that's the case, because Boston fans have been very critical of Tatum and Brown because of their expression of love for Kyrie previously. It's like, okay, he's not on your team anymore. He left you guys. He lit the whole place on fire. You should look at it. I'm not saying to hate him in real life, but when you're wearing a jersey, you have friends on other teams you played against, I'm sure. Like, you've got to go at them. And you've got to play with that motivation because they're not on your team.
Well, you can say whatever you want publicly. I don't think saying anything negatively about Kyrie Irving publicly helps the case, but I'm certain that they feel a way about that. They have to. Like, there's no way that things can end as poorly as they did in Boston and things not be cool, like things be cool with Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. Like, guys, color me skeptical, but Kyrie Irving losing 12 straight to the Boston Celtics, 12 straight games, there's got to be a little something there. And we know that things from a Kyrie's perspective didn't end well in Boston. I'm just simply saying, even though those guys continue to shout out Kyrie Irving, say positive things about him, deep down, they want to cut his heart out. And they are two games away from being able to get that done.
Well, we talk so much about legacy. I'm sure there's part of them that think, had we gotten a certain version of you, maybe we wouldn't be having these conversations.
Sure.
Maybe we would have already broken through. Now this is our opportunity not only to finally get the job done, but to do it against you, who might have been an obstacle in us getting it done a little earlier in our careers. Yeah, I'm sure that adds a little extra mustard to it.
Yeah, I don't want to have to worry about beating my teammate while I'm worried about beating the opponent. I don't want to have to do that.
Also, unless I missed something, why is Tim Hardaway Jr. not playing? He doesn't. He's the third leading scorer for the Mavericks. He played no minutes last night. If they can't score points and they're constantly turning the ball over, and you're saying Kyrie is not giving them what they need, and that White and Holiday are outscoring Luka and Kyrie, why not play a guy who can score points? I mean, is he like? Does he have broken arms and legs, and I don't realize this? Well, I can't imagine so, considering I saw his dad show up to game one. He's not going to go watch the team if his son's not playing. What am I missing on this? Why not dust him off and use him a little bit? This is not some high-powered offensive team right now. This is a low-scoring series, and if you're worried about him not playing great enough defense, then use him as Luka's caddy, and don't play him with Luka, who doesn't play defense. I mean, what am I missing on this?
I don't know. But clearly Jason Kidd's going to try something different in Game 3. Because what he's done in the first two games ain't going to get it done.
And let's point out one thing, right? You, rightfully so, came into this series, CC, saying, hey, I think the Mavs have a shot because of X, Y, and Z. You have every right to be disappointed with what you've seen so far. This is a disaster for the Mavs so far.
Yeah, it is. And here's the thing. I think we have to question whether or not this thing with Kyrie Irving and Luka Doncic is a good time or is it a long time? I think now we have to start asking that question. And I'm not saying that the Dallas Mavs would be interested in moving off of Kyrie Irving. Let me be clear about this. But if this series continues to go the way that it's going, I think we have to question whether or not they're going to scapegoat Kyrie in terms of fans, media, and whether or not Kyrie Irving is going to be happy staying in Dallas long term. When people start pointing the finger and saying, this is the guy that pulled the no-show, this is the guy that cost us the championship, are we going to see the worm turn when it comes to the Kyrie Irving of it all and him being a consummate professional and one of the team leaders in that Mavs locker room? He said he's evolved as a player. Based on what I saw in the first 3 rounds, I would believe that. But I'm also not going to dismiss the possibility of Kyrie Irving reverting back to the version we saw at the end of Cleveland, the guy we saw at the end in Brooklyn, at the guy we saw at the end in Boston. I'm not going to rule out that possibility because the best indicator for future performance is past performance. The best indicator for future behavior is past behavior. And if things get tough and people start to blame Kyrie Irving for not producing on the court, I wonder if Kyrie Irving would be content staying in Dallas playing alongside Luka.
Well, if he's taking all the heat for Dallas not winning the finals and simultaneously you have LeBron James during these playoffs saying how he's so mad he's not his running mate anymore and how talented he is, I can imagine Kyrie Irving saying, well, I know that there's love out there for me and I've proven myself this season. So if you're going to put the heat on me and point the finger at me, I'm sure that I can find a landing spot. I could absolutely see that going down.
I think it's a really interesting angle you just brought up because you're not suggesting Kyrie wants out in any way, shape, or form. You're wondering what happens when other people use him as the scapegoat. How does he react? Which hasn't actually happened yet, but it's to your point, very good point. It's easy to imagine that happening. Kyrie has not gotten it done so far in this NBA Finals.